What's going on, everyone? Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets have been through quite the circus as of late, and many questions on what Kyrie Irving is going to do. Is he going to stay with the Brooklyn Nets? Is he going to another team? Is he going to the Lakers? Is he going to opt out and sign the $6 million mid-level exception with the Los Angeles Lakers, which has been reported? Well, today was announced earlier that there would be a potential sign and trade for Kyrie Irving, that the Nets gave Kyrie a option to start looking for new sign and trades, new deals for him to go to other teams. Now, he can't actually sign and trade with a team that is, at the cap because then they would be hard capped. So Kyrie Irving would have to opt into his deal and then be traded. And it was just announced that Kyrie Irving has officially opted in to his $36.5 million player option. Now, you might be thinking, well, what does this mean? Primarily for the Lakers. What does this mean for the Lakers? Does this mean that Kyrie is staying in Brooklyn? Does this mean that he's not going to the Lakers? No, it actually, if anything, is more signs that he is going elsewhere because, like I said, he cannot do a sign and trade, especially with the Lakers, because the Lakers would be hard capped in any sign and deal trade. But Kyrie opting into his contract, now it's not a sign and trade. It's just a player trade. So the Lakers could work out a deal with the Brooklyn Nets to obtain Kyrie Irving. And, for Russell Westbrook would have to be involved in that trade to some degree. Very likely it could be a 3-team deal where Westbrook goes to, say, the Hornets. And then the Hornets would send, pieces to the Brooklyn Nets. And then the Lakers would end up with Kyrie Irving. That is very likely what's going to take place, what's going to shape up. You still have to wait for Russell Westbrook to opt in. He has until June 29th. Once June 29th comes, then he has to opt in, and then very likely we'll see that trade take place within, I'd imagine, a day or two if he is still going to the Lakers. Now, he could go to another team still. He could actually stay in the Brooklyn Nets. But I do think all signs point to him going to the Lakers. The Lakers are being reported as the only team that actually is willing to trade for Kyrie Irving. I'm sure if Kyrie Irving wanted to take deals with other teams for the mid-level, they would welcome that all day. But to actually give up assets to go get Kyrie Irving, the Lakers are the only team that would actually do that because of LeBron James. And you have a team of Kyrie, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. You're in a really good position, right? You are a really good team and very likely competing for a championship. And it's a much better fit than with Westbrook. So I do think that this is more inclination that he's going to the Lakers than not. The idea of him signing the $6 million taxpayer deal is very slim, right? It was very slim to begin with. It was something that very likely wasn't going to happen to begin with, but it was a Kyrie thing to do, right? It was something like, oh, I could see Kyrie Irving doing something like that. But ultimately, we knew he's not going to leave $30 million on the table, which he didn't. He went and opted in, and now he's going to go. So now, what does this mean for the Brooklyn Nets? Now, they're going to try to get whatever they can for Kyrie, but I don't believe Kyrie Irving opted in unless he knows what is already happening. I don't think Kyrie's going to opt in and hope that the Brooklyn Nets now are going to give him what he wants. I think it was more of like, I want to go to the Lakers, just for example, even if it's not the Lakers. I want to be traded to another team. I'll opt in, but you're going to trade me, and that very likely could be the case. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the coming days we have a rumored, trade with Westbrook, Kyrie, and maybe a third team. I think that that's something that's very likely going to get worked out. And you're going to start hearing the rumors. And then once Westbrook opts in, that's very likely what will happen. I think Kyrie's time with the Brooklyn Nets is over. I think it's done. I think they are going to move on off of him. And then that brings the question of like, what happens with Kevin Durant? Does Kevin Durant want to stay? Maybe if you get a good enough package, so say you did the Hornets deal. If you get, a Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward for Westbrook, maybe they even throw in a Plumlee like the Lakers were hoping. Then maybe Kevin Durant goes me, Ben Simmons, and all like just this ridiculous depth. Maybe that's enough for me to win a championship. Maybe that's enough for me to compete. Maybe that happens. But I think most likely, if Kyrie is traded to the Lakers, you're not going to get a great return. You're not going to get some great assets, even if there is a third team involved. Because how much is a third team going to give up for Westbrook? Any team that is trading for Westbrook is trying to dump salary. So unless Kevin Durant signs off and says, yeah, I want Russell Westbrook, I'll play with Russell Westbrook for a year, then I don't think they're trading for Russ. I think a third team will be involved. But who knows? I mean, you can't put it past it. Maybe KD says, let's run it for a year. Let's see how it looks. If it doesn't work out, he's a free agent, and then you can go get me a player that I want. Or at any point, Kevin Durant can just say, I want you to trade me, and then there's that. I just definitely think that there are options there for Kevin Durant if Kyrie leaves, which I do believe he's going to leave. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about Kyrie Irving opting into his contract? Do you think he stays? Do you think he still goes? Is that something that you knew? Like, oh yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Like I said, the only way Kyrie was truly going to be traded to a contender was him opting in. So even if he's not traded to Lakers, if he's traded to another team, even if, let's say, it's the Knicks, if he's traded to any team, he had to opt in first. So this was the first stages that needed to happen for him to be traded. That's why I still highly believe he is going to be traded by the Brooklyn Nets. It was also reported earlier today that they gave Kyrie permission to go and look for a sign and trade for him, and then hours later, all of a sudden he opts in. That tells me that he's had a conversation with somebody, and I think that conversation was likely LeBron and the Lakers, and they're like, we'll figure out a deal to bring you here. We'll figure out a way to get you. I just don't think that Kyrie Irving opted in without already knowing what's going to happen. And I don't think Kyrie is going to give up his leverage because he still has a couple days. He still has until the 29th. So he still has 2 days to get this done. I think Kyrie Irving knows what's going to happen. I think he's already worked it out with the Nets, and the Nets are going to move him. Brooklyn, they seem all but done with Kyrie Irving. There were even reports that Brooklyn has even stated that they would be willing to lose Kyrie and Kevin Durant if it means not having to replicate what happens next year. I just see if the Brooklyn Nets were to keep Kyrie Irving, I see this season just being a complete mess and a complete disaster. And I think Brooklyn knows it. I think all parties involved need to just break ties, move on, and be done. I'm sure if Kyrie actually wanted to buy in and actually wanted to be that guy that they were hoping he would be when they originally signed him, then yeah, maybe. But I just think at this point, the bridge has already been burnt. I think there's too much going on now. I just think you have to move off of Kyrie at this point. You can't wait around. And hopefully you can kind of convince KD, like, hey, let's do this. We got this deal. We got these assets, whatever. I do ultimately think that it's probably going to be a Westbrook for Kyrie trade. And, you'd have to throw in like a Patty Mills, something like that. Lakers probably give up their 2 draft picks. And I think that that's probably what's going to happen because at least as much as I know people are like Westbrook is a negative, all that stuff, people don't like Westbrook. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook were a really good team together. And they have some really nice pieces around them. Ben Simmons and Westbrook is a concern, absolutely. But in reality, that's the best deal you're probably going to get because any other deal you get is just going to be cap space that you don't need, that you don't want, players that aren't going to help you and make you any better. Your hope is that Westbrook and Westbrook and Kevin Durant can kind of rekindle that fire, and then they can kind of be that 1-2 punch. And then at the end of the year, Westbrook's money falls off the books. And then you have that cap space to go get other guys. That's what I think ultimately is your goal. And maybe you re-sign, if it does work, you re-sign Westbrook for a cheaper deal. That's what I think is going to happen. But again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.